Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Level Up in French. I am David Sansili, and this is my very first video online. So, yes, the goal of this channel is really to support tutors who may be looking for ideas about activities or pointers of how to get their clients to really improve their level of proficiency and making leaps with their language learning. It is also a channel that may be of value for uh, tutors who have clients who are maybe in middle school or high school, and so then this would give them the opportunity to have a better understanding of the philosophy, the ideas that go behind the curriculum that their clients may have at school, so that they can understand better the reason why they have the activities that they have, and so that they can see in what ways they can support their client to catch up with the rest of the class or get ahead, whether in class or with just their overall language proficiency. This is also a channel that may be of value for language learners who are looking for ways to do it, themselves and learn a little bit about, what kind of activities or exercises or way of thinking they can put in place, they can practice so that they continue to grow also as proficient communicators. Why level up in French? A concept that you may have heard me mention a few times already is the word proficient or proficiency. One thing that is important to remember is that when it comes to language acquisition, we talk more about proficiency. Some of you may have had like a call from a potential client or who was like, "Hey, I'm calling you because I want to become fluent in French, or I want my son to be fluent in Spanish." Right? So one thing that is important to understand is the difference between fluency and proficiency, so that then you can know understanding that, then you can kind of redirect the conversation to make sure that your potential client also has realistic expectations, right? Because ultimately, if you are selling a product, you need to make sure that you deliver something that the customer is expecting, or at least that you make sure that the customer has realistic expectations regarding what you can deliver. So it's important from the get-go to be clear about the proficiency and the fluency difference. So fluency is a term that is kind of vague, but really it's about fluidity, right? It's about the flow. So you may have someone who can be somewhat fluent in the language, which means that when they express themselves, they don't necessarily look for words. Things, tend to flow smoothly, right? However, that does not mean that that person has perfect grammar or that person doesn't make any errors, right? Sometimes you may have some speakers who are very comfortable. They've created some strategies to express themselves, and yet they still make some mistakes. So one way to look at it would be like a ski racer. So you have a ski racer who can go down the hill very fast, very fast. They are very quick. However, they may be lacking technique, right? So proficiency, on the other hand, is really about what you can do with the language. That's it. It's about what you can do with the language. And the more you can do, the more proficient you are. So when it comes to proficiency, it's important to understand that there are levels of proficiency, right? So that once you understand that there are levels, it's about then making sure that your client goes from one level up to the next, to the next, and to the next, so that they continue to grow as more proficient speakers or more effective communicators. So the levels of proficiency that I will describe were designed by ACTFL, which is the American Council on Teaching of Foreign Languages. So it's a membership organization that counts over 13,000 members who are all language teachers, instructors, professors, and range from the elementary level up to the university level. One thing that is important to remember or to keep in mind when it comes to these different levels is that really what defines where you're at is your floor, right? Each level has a floor and a ceiling. So the floor is really what determines your level of proficiency, and the floor is pretty much what you're able to do most of the time. Okay, and your ceiling is what you can do some of the time, right? So a novice speaker may have his floor in novice, but may be able to do sometimes some of the things that an intermediate speaker would be able to do. All right, so that's one thing. So as I go through the description of the different levels of proficiency, keep in mind that what I'm describing is the floor, okay, and that these speakers can also perform at a higher level of proficiency, but because they cannot sustain it, that is their ceiling, that is not their floor. Okay, what does it mean to be a novice communicator? A novice communicator is someone who knows some vocabulary, basic vocabulary, someone who has memorized a few key phrases, but that is not yet able to create outside, to create language outside of what they have learned and what they've memorized, right? So they usually tend to make lists. For instance, what kind of food do you like? I like pasta, broccoli, pizza, right? They go through a list, but they don't elaborate. They don't have that ability yet to elaborate and explain why they like pasta, why they like pizza, what is it about it that they like, right? They can't really expand. It can just do make lists. And also, when they ask questions, it's these are questions that they've memorized, and your answer might not be understood. They might not understand the answer that is given to them if the answer has too much information. So they may know, for instance, where is the bathroom, but they may not necessarily know if they understand if the explanation is a little complicated, right? So that's a novice speaker. You're pretty much a rehearser, right? You've rehearsed things, and that's what you do. Now, what does it mean to be an intermediate communicator? So an intermediate communicator is someone who is able to communicate, right? An intermediate mid communicator is someone who can survive in an immersive environment, right? It's someone who can ask for what they need, who can talk about themselves, their life, their family, things they like to do, not do. They may make mistakes here and there. Sometimes a non-sympathetic listener, so someone who is not used to communicating with non-native speakers, may have difficulties understanding them. But really, being able to survive is one of the functions of the intermediate level. In other words, if I take you, put you by the Eiffel Tower, and I tell you, okay, so you need to find your way back to the hotel using public transportation. On your way, please swing by the grocery store, get some food for tonight, and then also I want you to go and then go to a library and get me a book or a newspaper, right? So all those things you should be able to do them as an intermediate mid speaker, right? So you don't need, it's not like you can have a lot of abstract conversations, but you are functional. You're able to function in an immersive environment when you're an intermediate speaker. What does it mean to be an advanced communicator? So an advanced communicator is someone who is able to narrate and describe in all major time frames, and they can do it most of the time without issues. So, which means they can maneuver between time frames smoothly. Another aspect of that level is the ability to deal with a situation with complication, right? So I lent you my car. You get into a car accident. You need to tell what happened, right? So there's a situation, a complication, but you need to solve it, and they can do that. Another aspect of it is that an advanced speaker can be easily understood by a non-sympathetic listener, so someone who is not used to dealing with non-native speakers, right? So at the advanced level, you're very comfortable with the language. Um, you may make some mistakes, but when it comes to narration and descriptions in all major time frames, you are pretty solid. And then the superior level is really the world of the abstract, being able to hypothesize, all those if clauses. If had if I won the lottery, I would, I don't know, buy myself a new car, right? So all those things, like really in the abstract, belongs to the superior level. Very fluid, communication, back and forth, the ability to partake in any conversation and present and defend their point of view. And then the distinguished, you know, is the highest level, is the level where, the distinguished level is more, it's a scholar level, like a college professor type of language, right? So a distinguished communicator is a communicator uh, who's pretty much oral proficiency matches their written proficiency. So when they speak and they write, it kind of sounds the same. It looks the same. They are very eloquent. They are highly educated, and they are very sensitive to the different aspects of the culture, and are able to adapt their language, the words they use based on the cultural environment that they are part of. They are very sensitive to the different registers of the language. So that's about it when it comes to understanding the concept of proficiency and really the levels that language proficiency entails. And I hope that my explanations were clear enough to you. So you can understand when having conversations with your clients, uh, you know, how to have those conversations in such a way that then you can discuss how to take them from point A to point B to point C, right? So that they understand that yes, it's about getting a new level, okay, and every time making their ceiling their new floor. If you want more information about that, right? Because I want a little, quickly, but uh, you will see in the description below. There I will post a link to the Act 4 proficiency guidelines so that you can see for yourself. And I will do more videos to give you tips because it's one thing to know how the language proficiency is structured, but how to get from novice to intermediate and intermediate to advanced and so on. That's something different. So I will create new content for you coming up with ideas that you can start implementing right away in order to make your tutoring sessions oriented, effective, and yeah, and overall really in line with second language acquisition. So feel free to reach out. My webpage, levelupinfrench.com. Send me a text message, comments if I may have missed anything, or if you're a tutor and you're wondering some, so you would like to get some tips and so on, or a little coaching. Also, feel free to reach out. I'm also available. Okay. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you. À bientôt.